it's just a huge honor today to be podcast interviewing the founders of Planet DDS with Eric Giesecke. Did I say that right? Giesecke?
Yep, perfectly.
And his buddy Blake Rice. Did I say Rice right?
That's right. That's an easy one, though.
And you're both in Costa Mesa, California. And you, so let me read the bio of you two guys first. Eric Giesecke is responsible for operations, technology, finance, customer success, and strategy at Planet DDS. Prior to joining the company, he co-founded District Line Partners, a private investment fund created to acquire and operate a single attractive business in a growing industry. He also ran One Source Water, a bottleless water cooling firm where he nearly doubled the size of the company in less than 3 years. Eric has an MBA from Harvard Business School and a BS in mechanical engineering from the University of Virginia. That's an amazing bio. Then we have Blake Rice, also in Costa Mesa, California. Blake is responsible for sales, marketing, business development, and strategy at Planet DDS. Before he joined, Blake co-founded District Line Partners, a private investment fund created to acquire and operate a single attractive business in a growing industry. He also served as an infantry officer in the U.S. Marine Corps with deployments to Iraq, Afghanistan, and worked for the U.S. State Department in Africa. Blake has an MBA from Harvard Business School and a BA from Davidson College. Blake, thank you so much for serving our country.
Oh, thank you, sir.
And then they brought on one of their product champions, a dentist, Orest Bauer from New York, Upper East Side Manhattan. Dr. Bauer is a native of northern New Jersey and served 8 years as a general dentist in the U.S. Navy. After leaving the Navy, he moved from the sunny shores of Naval Base Ventura County, California, to the snow of Syracuse, New York, to work for Aspen Dental. 3 months later, he was fired and decided to go it alone and opened a 2-chair practice in New York City. He's been there for the past 5 years and enjoys placing implants, making CEREC crowns, and being his own boss. Orest, thank you so much for serving 8 years in the Navy. How was that?
It was a great experience, Howard. I really enjoyed it.
Is your favorite song in the world YMCA?
I think it will be after this, definitely.
So first we got to start with, why did you get fired at Aspen? You got to tell us why.
I think we had a difference in expectations in how much to work, what's the treatment plan, and I was just overworked, to be honest with you. So that's kind of like the skinny of it. The expectations were different between what I thought I was getting into and then what they thought they were getting from me.
I think it's funny how everybody thinks that all these people that went to 8 years of college are all going to line up to be employees for the rest of their life. I see zero evidence of anyone who went to 8 years of college who wants to be told what to do, work your hours. I've never seen evidence of this ever. But
that's exactly what happened.
But supposedly corporate, we're all going to be working at McDentals in 20 years because all dentists love to be told what to do. Hell, you couldn't get 2 dentists on Dentaltown to agree on anything.
That's the truth.
So tell us about Planet DDS. What is Planet DDS, and why would 2 guys from Harvard Business School? Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
They told me I could only get into Harvard if I was wearing a ski mask and had a gun. So congratulations on getting in that place. That's an amazing school. So tell us, first of all, what is Planet DDS?
So Planet DDS, Eric, you want me to? I'll jump on this one. Yeah, Planet DDS is the company that pioneered cloud dental practice management software for solo practices and for groups as well. And our primary service and product that we offer is Denticon practice management software. As I mentioned, we've been around for 10 years. To give credit to the founders, though, just to clarify, we were not the founders of the company. I wish we had come up with this great, brilliant, wonderful software, but Rich Lee and Bill Jackson and a few others, Che Kim, were involved at the creation. Some of them are still around with us now today, and they really get full credit for seeing this vision 10 years ago. But that's the bottom line, Howard. It's cloud-based practice management software to replace desktop software and all the benefits that comes with.
Okay, I know you must be a millennial because you keep throwing around the word cloud. Explain to a dentist who's over 50 what that means, that it's on the cloud. What does that mean, on the cloud?
That's a great question, so the cloud. The best explanation that I think I might be borderline Gen Y. So I'm almost a millennial, but not quite, thankfully. But no offense to millennials. But the best explanation I heard for cloud, and I heard this at the Thanksgiving table. Someone was explaining to my mother actually what the cloud is. The best explanation I've heard is the cloud is just somebody else's computer you're accessing via the internet. And in our case, our computers are servers, advanced servers that are stored and housed and maintained in AT&T and Amazon Web Services data centers, and our users are accessing that software on our servers in those data centers via the internet.
And I just saw you last weekend at Dr. Mark Cooper's Mastery Summit, June 8 and 10. That was last Friday and Saturday?
Correct, yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Do you remember seeing me there?
We sure do. Of course.
See, a lot of people confuse me with Brad Pitt, and they get us mixed up. It just doesn't. I mean, I would think if I was McDonald's and have 40,000 locations, wouldn't it just be easier if all the McDonald's were on the cloud? Wouldn't that be easier for McDonald's? I mean, isn't this really the future?
Some would say that, absolutely, and we certainly feel that way. A lot of dental groups and a lot of smaller emerging groups, which was, of course, the biggest topic of discussion at the Mastery Summit last week. You saw, the future of emerging dentistry and DSOs and such. But that's right. McDonald's is in the cloud for most of its systems. If you look at any other industry besides dental, and this is really interesting, actually, most every other industry, you have 90% plus cloud adoption for most business management systems, and dental has lagged behind for a number of reasons, but everybody else is in the cloud, and there's good reasons for that.
Can you give any examples of businesses that dentists would know about that run on the cloud?
You mentioned McDonald's. I mean, McDonald's is running all of its systems are connected via remote networks, and they use a lot of cloud enterprise management systems for HR and payroll and other things. But taking McDonald's again, I'm no McDonald's expert, so I might be speaking a little bit outside of my lane there, frankly. But you look at HIMSS Analytics, the Healthcare Information and Management Systems Society, does a survey, and they look at healthcare organizations across all verticals: veterinary, medical, dental, and others. And they found that 83% of healthcare organizations are using cloud-based solutions. So it's really quite prevalent.
So most of the dentists listening to you today, they're commuting to work. Podcast is beating radio. They don't want to listen to news and politics and all that stuff. So I retweet your last Twitter, because they're driving, not taking notes. If you follow me at Howard Farran, I just retweeted you at Planet DDS. So when you get to work, all you got to do is Twitter, and it's got their the link to their website. So who are your so you're basically the two big gorillas you have to compete against are Dentrix and Eaglesoft. So why, Orist Bauer, you're a dentist. Orist, why did you go with Planet DDS instead of Dentrix and Eaglesoft, which probably those two combined are probably half of new sales?
Absolutely. Well, the major reason is because I'm in New York City, and my office is only 539 square feet for 2 operatories. I don't even have a lab. I have a closet where I keep my sterilizer, and above it I have to hang my coat. So first off, I had no space. I really had no space to put any servers in. And so I was forced kind of by default to look for some sort of cloud solution. And secondly, I looked at those software companies, and they didn't really have as robust a choice as what Denticon offers. And so I didn't want to pay them for the license. I didn't want to pay for servers. I didn't want to have a huge IT structure in my tiny office without really getting a good bang for the buck. Now, I know some people will be like, well, you can just go with Open Dental. But my experience is I have bad luck with computers. And if something's going to go wrong, it's going to happen. But so far, I have really good luck with internet connections. Those rarely go down for me. So I was looking for something cloud-based. And at that time, about 5 years ago when I opened, there were really only 2 people in business. It was Planet DDS, and Curve was just about starting to get into the market. And Curve is another cloud-based company. I think they're out of Utah. So looking at Planet DDS, I saw who were their major customers. Well, their major customers are not solo dentists. These are large dental enterprise kind of DSOs. And so I felt that if I'm a small guy and most of their customers are bigger customers or bigger companies, then their support must be really, really good. Because if you lose one DSO and you fail to support them, then that's a huge cost, I would assume. So I wanted that security and sort of that warranty of working with a company whose major clients were larger dental practices or corporations. So that's really what it came down to for me. It was more.
And who
more than
are
necessity.
the major DSO? There's what 35 major DSOs. What major DSOs are using Planet DDS? And by the way, it seems like there's two brand names. I mean, it seems like you're branding Planet DDS, but also the Denticon. So what is that? Why do you brand Planet DDS? Is it Planet DDS Denticon, or what? Why two names?
Yeah, it's a little confusing. Admittedly, we have heard that from a few folks. It's funny you mentioned that, Howard. It's really nothing more than the company name and the product name. Company name Planet DDS. Denticon is the software. And I think initially when the company was founded 10 years ago, the idea was Planet DDS is going to be a world of offerings to dental groups, and they landed on this software that's really taken off and had a huge amount of success. We've been busy with the software, and Denticon kind of became the main offering from the company.
I know you were at we ran into each other at Mark Cooper's deal, which was a elite meeting just for DSOs. We've had him on the show a couple of times. What DSOs are your product champions?
Sure, we've got. I mean, our biggest client, probably one of our most well-known clients, is Dental Care Alliance, and they're pushing about 300 locations out of Florida. They're easily a top 10 DSO in the U.S. Multi-specialty, multi-state. You know, they operate primarily east of the Mississippi, and the story there is actually pretty interesting because they acquired or partnered with one of our other large clients, Northeast Dental Management, Dr. Craig Abramovitz. You may have spoken to him. He's pretty well known in dental circles. And
what you said, it was Dental Care Alliance. They have 300 locations out of Florida. Who's their CEO?
Mitch Olin.
Mitch what?
Mitch Olin, Olan.
Can you introduce me to him and tell him to come on the show?
Absolutely.
I always think one of my obvious strategies, like, okay, most dentists can't manage their own office. So shouldn't you listen to anyone who can manage 30 offices, 300 offices? I mean, couldn't you, if you weren't an arrogant egomaniac dentist, don't you think you could learn something from someone who can manage 300 locations? So Dental Care Alliance with Mitch Olan.
That's correct, Mitch Olin. Yep.
And what other DSO?
So just the story about Dental Care Alliance is really interesting. I'll throw out some other names out there too, but just what's really cool about Dental Care Alliance is that they acquired one of our large clients, large customers, or they partnered with them. Northeast Dental Management. Dr. Craig Abramovitz built that group from about 3 to 65-ish locations, and Northeast Dental grew with us from about 3 to 65 locations, and they partnered with Dental Care Alliance. And what typically happens, as you might know, is the larger group rolls the smaller group onto its platform. And at the time, DCA was using a different product. They did a full RFP process. They looked at us, and they decided to switch to Denticon, which is pretty unusual. And speaks to the strength of the product. But you asked about some other names too. Trelongo is kind of doing exciting things out of Florida and Atlanta.
What's their name?
Trelongo.
Trelongo.
That's
the name
yeah.
of a DSO?
That's the name of a DSO. Name for the founder, Ken Trelongo. And we've got a lot of DSOs off the top of my head. You know, on-site. I'm thinking about some DSOs that are doing kind of interesting, pioneering things. On-site dental out here in California. Mid-Atlantic Dental Partners. Dental Health Associates of Madison, Village Family Dental, Hawaii Family Dental Centers, and so on.
So we know, obviously, the difference between a franchise and a location. So mom and dad owns their own restaurant. They spend their whole day working in the business, taking orders, cooking food. And at the end of the day, they're exhausted. They go home and they pass out. And those guys were slaughtered by franchises because the franchise has people that only work on the business all day. And their franchisees work in the business all day. And everyone knows the DSOs have been making smarter decisions when it comes to business, demographics, HR, advertising, and I think it just speaks volumes that you're getting the DSO market. I mean, that's the smarter client.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Go ahead, Eric.
No, I would agree with that. I think, well, just from our 2 years experience working in the business, we've had also the benefit of working with guys like Dr. Bauer here, who I think is very sophisticated and cutting edge. But not to butter you up there, Dr. Bauer, but certainly in terms of sophistication, I would put some of our solo clients very much on the cutting edge when it comes to processes, marketing, and things like that. So I think, in general, I think that's right. But I think we've been lucky enough to attract a subset of solo dentists that are really looking for that level of higher experience or better experience and better sophistication, and have taken advantage of some of the things that we've learned from some of the DSOs.
Okay, well, this is Dentistry Uncensored, so let's get rude, crude, and crass. How much is this? That's what dentists want to know. How much coin do I have to give you to get this?
All right, here we go. This is where we get quoted. It goes on the record. So no, Howard, the answer, and you're not going to like it. The answer depends on the group, the size, et cetera. But to give a rough sense of what a typical office pays, and we have a sliding scale, of course, for enterprise. But a typical office is going to pay roughly $400 a month for the software. And there's some add-on services as well. And typically our groups and our smaller groups and even our solo locations have a 40% savings in total cost of ownership compared to desktop software, which is pretty powerful when you consider how much better the cloud is and how much better, more efficient you are, and the risk that you reduce from an IT perspective and a HIPAA perspective. Also, you get a lot of benefits, and it's cheaper.
Howard, I can jump in on this one from a solo dentist perspective. So that's about what I'm paying right now, but I also have additional services. So I pay an extra $50 a month or so for storage of my images, all my x-rays. Copies of my x-rays get uploaded to their cloud. So on my cell phone, if I have another location, anywhere I have internet connection, I can look at the x-rays I took just a second ago. So I have that sort of redundancy. The second thing is in New York State, e-prescribing is now mandatory. So there's no more paper scripts. So I pay an additional fee, monthly fee, I don't know, it's like $30, maybe $50 or more, so that I have an integration with a service called DoseSpot that it just goes straight to the pharmacy for the patient from Denticon. But one of the big reasons why, and I didn't mention this earlier, the big reason why I chose Denticon specifically is they're the only one in the market, Howard, that has a separate team of insurance specialists that verify and do all of my insurance work for me. So what does this mean? Well, I know that you really don't have much experience with insurance per se at your practices, but a lot of guys like me that are accepting PPO insurance, we know that every time somebody walks through the door, we have to verify that insurance.
Well, why did you say I don't have experience with that?
Well, I would assume like maybe you're more fee for service or
no,
in
dude,
your experience with that. No, okay. I disrespect that.
On my 5-mile radius, 1 in 4 speaks Spanish as a primary language. I'm in Phoenix. This is pure blue collar.
Okay.
But yeah,
so then you can appreciate it.
And I think it's literally insane that in 2017 you can't verify that insurance automatically. You have to call. If you don't have a human, call that insurance company. It all goes south.
Howard, Denticon does it automatically. So they have an integration with the insurance companies where it automatically checks the eligibility for me. And if it's not done automatically, they have a team of agents in the United States that calls the insurance company, goes to the website and looks at it for me, enters the plan into the practice management system. So everything I do is seamless. I don't have a girl or a guy here in the office calling the insurance, doing that verification. It's all done off-site. And it's really reasonably priced. It's cheaper than me hiring somebody to be in here all the time, making these calls and making mistakes. So that's really the reason why, probably the larger secondary reason why I decided to go to Denticon. They're the only ones. Dentrix doesn't have this. Open Dental doesn't offer this. Nobody else offers this sort of service that's directly linked with the practice management software.
Okay, I want to ask you another question that on Dentaltown, whenever you go down this alley, VoIP, internet, on the cloud, voice over internet protocol for phone calls, internet, etc., people don't really know how reliable is the internet in 2017? If you were going to work Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, what are your hours, by the way?
10 to 7, Monday through Thursday, 10 to 7.
What percent of the time is the internet blinking or going down, or is it an issue?
Rarely, never. And maybe that's because I'm in New York City, where it's considered much more of an infrastructure issue. But in the handful of times, maybe once or twice that it's gone down, I have a backup plan. And that backup plan is using my cell phone, and I tether all the computers to the cell phone. Like if you have an iPhone, it creates a little Wi-Fi signal. So then that's my backup. And I can still access Denticon. I can still access all my printing and everything. And then once that light stops blinking on the cable modem and the internet comes back on, then we switch right back over.
So how often does that happen?
It happens once a year, and it lasts maybe 15, 20 minutes.
So only once a year for 20 minutes?
Yeah. And
I would just say that was a sign from God that it's time to have a break in the donut room and just go eat donuts and drink chocolate milk. I'm pretty sure.
So, you look at that, because that's the number one complaint. I talk to a lot of dentists, like I would never go cloud because my internet would go down. I'm like, well, how many times does your server reboot? How many times do you have a problem where you have to call support and there's some issue? Well, think about how much time you would spend with that versus the remote chance that the internet goes down. And if it does, you have this kind of backup plan like I have, where I connect one of the laptops to a Wi-Fi hotspot or to my cell phone, and it's business as usual.
So I think insurance verification, I think that's huge. I also think when you're on the cloud, you don't have to be responsible for your updates or security or people hacking into it. I mean, someone. But I want you to go back to phone calls. So it's on the cloud. You don't need servers. You don't have to do backups. Again, you don't have to do any backups, right?
Right. There's no backup. And if I want to have my data, let's say because the way that all these systems, there's one thing that's the same with Dentrix, with Open Dental, and it's a specific type of database. It's SQL, SQL. And it takes all the values, all the information, and it stores it as what's called comma-separated values. So if I wanted to, I could back up all my Denticon data. I press a button, and overnight they send me a file that has all the raw data that I can have. So if I wanted to take that information and put it in some other program like Excel or another practice management system, let's say I wanted to take it and put it into Open Dental and into Dentrix, I can still do that. I can still line everything up. So you are correct in that I don't have to do backups, but if I wanted to, then I could do that. They do give me back my information, which is another complaint by some dentists saying, oh, it's in the cloud, you don't own the data, they take it from you. That's not true.
So what's amazing is, let me tell you my darkest hour with this computer. So it was back in the 80s. No, it was the early 90s. I think it was 93, 94. And, it was the Intel 286 was my first, and it was the Intel 386. And the Pentium was the big, and my computer crashed. But it's okay because we had a backup. But I don't know the logistics of it, but we were supposed to back it up to like the C drive, and and I had set up to back up to the D drive or whatever. I was backing it up to the wrong drive, so I lost everything. Every single thing. I mean, it was no big deal. I only cried, puked, and vomited for a couple of days. And but we had to re-enter every single damn thing. And the money that cost me was because everybody that owed me money, I mean, we quit billing them for it, and they didn't call me up and say, hey, remember me? I owe you money. That call never happened.
Yeah. How long did it take you to get back on your feet after that loss? After you lost all the data?
I mean, it was just a week nightmare.
Yeah.
There are a lot of stories like that, Howard. When I'm on Dentaltown, everybody's got sort of like that worst case scenario where the servers went down and it took a day or two to get everything back up and running. And even then, all the data was 2 or 3 days old already, and all the information from the day before, all those transactions are they're gone.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it's so funny because now staff will say, remember that? And they'll laugh. And I'm like, dude, that's still not funny. It hasn't been long. It hasn't been that long. So now, I understand the advantage of the cloud, the backups, the firewalls, the hacking, all that stuff is done by professionals. I think the insurance claims is amazing. Usually, when you go into a 2-doctor practice, there's one girl full time up front who only does insurance verification. So it's about a half of an employee for a dentist, a 2-dentist practice, and you do, and they do all of that for you.
They do. They enter the plan, and then they verify everything. But also on the back end, Howard, I kind of do a little bit of extra a la carte services. One of their agents runs my aging report, and for any insurance claims that have not been paid by 30 days, they automatically start calling for me and finding out what happened. And because it's cloud-based, they have access to all the x-rays. They can resubmit the claims for me. They don't have to do what's called a VPN or a direct connect to my servers in my office, because obviously it's in the cloud. So that's really where the benefit comes through for me, is I'm just saving a lot of money on payroll because all of this is off-site. And so it's a direct expense. It helps me a little bit on my taxes. I don't have to worry about paying payroll taxes. I'm just paying this, it's software as a service, which is, the big thing right now. And I think Eric could speak to that as well.
So now you go to phone calls. So now you're using a cloud-based phone call?
I am. Yeah, I've had really good experience. So I use like Vonage. It's a VoIP type system, and it's really been helpful. So I can explain. So we ported over my phone number from my office, which is a fancy way of saying of taking your original landline and making it virtual. So people still call the same phone number. But now I incorporated a phone tree. So when you call the office, it says, hey, welcome. Press 1 if you're a new patient. Press 2 if you're an existing patient. Press 3 for all other inquiries. If you press 1, then it actually goes to an off-site call center that I use in Atlanta.
What is 1 if you're an existing patient?
New patient. If you're a new patient, it goes to a call center that I have a contract with in Atlanta. They're called Concierge Contact Center.
Now, is that only do dental, Concierge Contact Center?
I think they also do medical, but they're just blowing it up right now with dental because there's a huge need for it. So basically, if you're a new patient, because I'm so small, I only have one girl at the front desk, and we were getting inundated with phone calls and different requests. So I created the phone tree system, and I can do that with the voice over IP. So press 1, new patient, goes to their call center. They answer in my office's name, and they're really friendly. They're well-trained telephone specialists, if you want to call them. They're logged into Denticon. They have my schedule, and they have certain parameters that they follow in order to schedule that new patient. Press 2, it also goes to contact center, and the patient, an existing patient, now has 2 options. 1, to reschedule or schedule an appointment, or 2, all other inquiries. 1 goes to contact center, because a lot of times people are calling Howard, hey, I want to move my cleaning. I need to move this. I need to move that appointment. That's wasted time for me, for my front desk girl, when she's got more important things to do. So I'd rather pay, $1.50 a minute to concierge to handle that for me than to waste time in the office. Now, if the patient does need to talk to the office, then they can press 2, they can press 3, all other inquiries. Then it goes to the office, and that's when we get a phone call at the front desk, and we can handle that one-on-one. So that's really kind of cut down on the amount of ringing of the phone at the front desk, and allowed me to kind of concentrate my office manager front desk on a lot more important tasks than rescheduling. That's really a waste of time. Rescheduling, as you know, is just useless time.
How did you find the Concierge Center by John Ross and Lynette Conway? How did you stumble upon them?
When I signed up with Denticon, they did that service for me. So they used to do, in addition to my insurance, they would also do after-hours phone calls or any overflow phone calls. And they had their own agents in California that would, call my cell phone at 2 in the morning if there was an emergency, or, schedule or reschedule that patient. They have since closed that division down, and they actually referred me to these guys in Atlanta, the Concierge Contact Center, and it's been really, really good.
You're doing your phone calls in VoIP. You're doing your insurance. This is really an amazing practice management system. What about accounting? Why? My big beef is that the dentist signs up for 15 different prices on a PPO. So he's doing when you sell a bottle of water, you say, okay, I make this for 80 cents and I sell it for $1 and I make 20 cents on each one. Then you go into dentistry and the dentist says, well, I have no idea what it costs me when I schedule an hour to do 2 fillings and I sell it for 12 different prices depending on which PPO plan I'm on. So is it hooked up to any accounting, any CPAs, any QuickBooks Online, Peachtree Online, any accounting, or is that what are your thoughts on that?
On the accounting side, what our clients typically do is they'll, as Dr. Bauer mentioned, you have the ability to pull your data at any time, because every accounting system is slightly different in what it needs in the way of uploads. You pull that data from Denticon, and then you format it. We could send it to folks in the format they need for their particular accounting system, and then they would upload it into the accounting system. That's typically how it works. And we're also we're building out a more robust API, which is just another way of saying it's kind of a standard handshake between two systems, and looking to expand that API library to integrate with a lot more accounting systems in the future.
And what do you think the DSOs are running their accounting on? When you took someone like Dental Care Alliance with 300 locations, like what would they be running their accounting on?
Typically they have a sort of a large scale standard ERP system where they're pulling the data from Denticon and they're massaging. And a lot of these larger DSOs have in-house staff to analyze, slice and dice, pull together reports and do things on their end, and they like to see the data kind of analyzed in a certain way, different flavors of ice cream, so to speak. And so they'll have an ERP system, and then they'll have a staff too. But not everybody can afford that. And the cool thing about Denticon, actually, earlier this year we rolled out a more robust enterprise reporting tool that allows folks to create custom reports, and that's really powerful for the solo offices and for their emerging DSOs that can't afford an in-house team of 3 people. To sit in front of a computer and pore over spreadsheets and figure out what's what. To your point earlier, Howard, about not knowing what's going on in the practice and figuring out profitability and key metrics and how to improve the overall operations of a business, which ultimately a practice is a business.
It's tough because none of them integrate. I've never met one single dentist knows their costs. And they'll say, "Hey, my hygienist booked out 2 weeks in advance. You think I should get another hygienist?" And I'll say, "Hey, dude, your hygienist just finished a cleaning, exam, and bite wings. Did you make $12 or lose $12? Oh, I have no idea. Okay, so what's the question? And if they did do a start, if someone did do it, they'd hook it up to QuickBooks Online. But again, that's grammar school stuff. You could only run a DSO on Peachtree Accounting, and Microsoft then bought Great Plains Accounting, but even both of those don't even have an online version. QuickBooks is online. So if you're running a Kool-Aid stand at the bottom level all the way up to a single business farm dental office, that would work. But you couldn't run multiple companies under a trust or an LLC or multiple deals without Peachtree Accounting or Great Plains Accounting. But it's we're still infantile on that. Hey, I want to tell you another thing dentists are talking about is there's a big threat on Dentaltown, ransomware. These people are getting. Can you explain what ransomware is? Can you explain, did the dentist do something wrong? Did they open an attachment, or did they think their buddy sent them a PDF? Or will you explain what the ransomware is, and how do you know when you shouldn't be opening up an email file? And if you're hosting my Denticon online, could you guys get ransomware and we all lose together?
No, so fortunately for you would only lose locally, so to speak, and your data and the Denticon cloud would be safe because we have really advanced intrusion detection protocols, and we store all our data, as I mentioned, in AT&T and Amazon Web Services data centers. But ransomware, my understanding, and I'm not a technical guy, the way I've heard it explained is basically someone gets access to your physical computer, your laptop or your desktop, and they lock it. They essentially lock it, and all the information that's stored on that hard drive is locked until you pay them Bitcoin or blockchain or whatever whatever currency they're asking you, whatever cryptocurrency they're asking you for on some offshore account, and then they'll unlock your hard drive so you can gain access to your information again. And typically, from what I've read, and guys chime in if this sounds incorrect, but typically they get access by conducting phishing attacks where you're exactly right, Howard. I mean, they'll send an email with a link that you follow, or a PDF that you open, or a document that you open that sort of installs the encryption protocol or the tool on your computer and locks it. So the best way to avoid it, I think, is to just be very careful about what you open. If you get an email that looks weird, the subject line is jumbled, or there's no content, there's just a file, or it's from someone you've never met before, just be very, very careful about what you open on your system, because even if you're using a cloud system like Denticon, you're still accessing that system via workstations where you may have other systems running on that workstation, and if that computer is locked, your Denticon data is safe, but you still may have personal stuff on that computer that you want to get access to later.
There's also a lot of threads on Dentaltown where sweet innocent dentists are accidentally doing HIPAA violations and getting some smacked with some serious fines. And it's no longer a theoretical. It's no longer something that was aimed at medical, but it's actually hitting dentists upside the head with some big fines. What's different about you and HIPAA compliance versus if I had my own software in my own server?
That's a great question, and not to monopolize the answers here, guys. Feel free to chime in, but the biggest thing is that when as Dr. Bauer mentioned, I mean, when you're running traditional dental software, you are responsible for that hardware and the software that's running on the hardware. That's in some closet somewhere at your practice, and it's vulnerable to any number of things: theft, damage. 90% plus of HIPAA breaches I read somewhere occur because physical media is stolen. A hard drive or a thumb drive. So if you are no longer hosting that information, storing it locally, you're eliminating a lot of the risk right there. And we take that responsibility on for our clients, for our users, by storing all of our information behind a lot of layers of security that we can provide to all of our clients, and we could spread that cost over a much larger user base than any individual practice possibly could, and give our users access to higher level security that they'd be able to get on their own. And that's one way. But you're never, I mean, we tell this to dentists all the time. Look, you're never, you should always be checking your vendors, and that includes us. I mean, challenge us on this. If someone's coming to us and looking at the software, by all means, challenge us on our security measures and our protocols. And you're doing a lot of other stuff that's not in practice management software, and make sure that everything else, whether it's the imaging potentially, even though that integrates with us as well, or maybe you have other systems that you're running that aren't tied to your PM software, you've got to make sure as a solo practice and even as a group that those are protected and that you're running all the HIPAA checks for those as well.
I think it's pretty cool. I mean, you're the future they talked about yesterday, but I think it's really cool that you got DSOs, because I know the DSO people. I know my dentist. My dentist want to learn more about implants and bone grafting and adhesive dentistry. And all of my dentist friends that own DSOs don't see patients for 10, 20 years. And they're taking their doctorate mind and tackling the business. And like at Mark Cooper's deal, I mean, the dentists that I know that own 10, 20, 50, 100, 400 offices, they just make better business decisions. I mean, how could you say they don't? I mean, most dentists are paying $40,000 to $60,000 for a consultant to come clean up the only office they own. And these guys got 300 offices. So kudos to you that you're getting the DSOs.
I think one of the interesting things you bring up there is that one of the kind of things that we understood as we got involved in the industry is this incredible thirst for knowledge through things like Mark Cooper Summit and other types of consultants that are out there really trying to help. There's a real desire in this industry to get better. And that's what excited Blake and me about the company and the opportunity, is that we feel like we can produce a product that allows them to solve a lot of those challenges, either be a DSO or a single practitioner. And a lot of industries are kind of, complacent or resting on their laurels. We really feel like this industry is really excited about getting better, and we think we can produce products and services, as Laura said, that can really help them do that. So that's part of why we're so excited about what we're doing.
You went to College of the Holy Cross. So are you Catholic, or Catholic?
Pretty much Catholic. Yeah, how'd you guess?
Oh my God! You could always find a Catholic school from a mile away. Only the College of the Holy Cross. That couldn't be Lutheran or
Definitely
Episcopalian.
not.
That has
Definitely
to be
not.
Catholic. So, Ors,
Well,
are you? How long have you been a user of this?
for about 5 years now. Yeah, I opened this practice January 2nd, 2012. And so, yeah, just about a little bit over 5 years. And so I saw an amazing transition from Denticon pre Blake and Eric to now the way that it looks. And it's huge.